As we celebrate Nurses Week, we give thanks for the dedication of all of our nurses. We also want to remember and to honor 2 of our St. Mary's nurses who died this past year. Nursing is a calling, a lifestyle, a way of living. Today, we honor Deb Hare and Sue Harrington and their lives as nurses. Sue and Deb are not remembered for their years as nurses, but by the difference they made during those years, by stepping into people's lives, by special moments. Deb and Sue were there when a calming, quiet presence was all that was needed. They were there when a silent glance could uplift a patient, family member, or friend. They were there at those times when the unexplainable needed to be explained. They were there when the situation demanded a swift foot and a sharp mind. They were there when a gentle touch, a firm push, or an encouraging word was needed. They were there to witness humanity in beauty, its beauty in good times and in bad, without judgment. They were there to embrace the woes of the world willingly and to offer hope. And now it is time to be at the Great One's side, and they are there. Sue and Deb, we honor you today and give thankful appreciation that you were our colleagues. Amen.
Hello, well, thank you everybody for coming. I'm Corinne Beck. I'm the Nursing Coordinating Council Chair, and we welcome you to our presentation today. Barbara Bartlein is the People Pro. She helps you build your business and balance your life, a frequent guest on radio and TV. She is past president of the National Speakers Association Wisconsin chapter. Barbara has owned and operated 3 businesses, one that now trades on the New York Stock Exchange. She previously was vice president of St. Mary's Hospital in Milwaukee. Barbara is the author of The People Pro, a monthly column that appears in the Business Journal and other periodicals. She is a contributing author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. Her book, Why Did I Marry You Anyway? 12.5 Strategies for a Happy Marriage, received a 5-star rating from Amazon and is a bestseller. Please join me in welcoming Barbara Bartlein.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, we have a big group here now. We had a smaller group this morning, a lot of third shifters. I'm pleased to report nobody fell asleep. So that was good. Yeah, that's success. So how many nurses do we have here? Quick show of hands. Oh, wow. Lots of nurses. I love nurses. I'm a nurse, of course. When did people know they wanted to become a nurse? Yeah.
When I was 5 years old.
5 years old. What'd you do? Go and announce it to your parents, I'm going to be a nurse?
No, I actually fell in love with the nurse in my doctor's office.
You fell in love with the nurse at your doctor's office. Interesting. You said, I want to be that. That looks good to me. Looks like a good job. And of course, nursing is. It's a profession. It's a lifestyle, as she was saying in the introduction. Anybody younger than 5 knew they wanted to be a nurse? Older? How old were you?
40.
40! She decided to be a nurse. What were you before?
I worked in health information management.
Health information. Is that computers and stuff? What is it?
Medical records.
Medical records? Well, how boring. Right? Of course you want to be a nurse. We're never bored. Because the beauty about nursing is what? When you do get tired of something, you can move to something else. That's the whole beauty of the field. I love it. I've done a dozen different roles, and they're all fun, and they're all rewarding, and they're all good. See, I knew I wanted to be a nurse by age 3. So I have you beat. Yeah. Yeah. Well, actually, let me step back a minute. I knew I either wanted to be a nurse or some type of sex kitten. And I know what you're thinking, gee, well, how'd you even know about being a sex kitten? I'll tell you how. Because when I was 3 years old, we got our first TV. I know this is shocking to some of the younger people here, but I remember a time when we didn't have TV. Now, the first TV wasn't like what we have now. It was just a simple wooden box, sat on the floor, and it had a little screen about this big, round. Black and white, of course. And on the side of the TV, there were 2 knobs. There was one that was on-off volume, And the other one, well, actually where there was supposed to be a knob, there was just a peg, and we had to change the channels with the pliers. What, did you do that too? Maybe we sold our TV to you. But I love that TV. I didn't care. I mean, this was new technology. This was exciting. So you can imagine when we're watching the movies with those stars like Marilyn Monroe. I'm thinking, that's what I want to be. I want to be like Marilyn Monroe. I'd even practice like Marilyn Monroe in front of the mirror. A kiss on the hand might be quite continental, but diamonds are a girl's best friend. But thanks. There wasn't a lot of call for that. So my parents were thrilled when I said, well, I'm going to go with plan B. I'm going to become a nurse. And what they did was they immediately ran out and got me one of those little plastic nurses kits. Do you remember those? Everybody in this room had one. They were great. You open them up. You have a stethoscope that doesn't work. A thermometer permanently marked to 98.6. You've got a little hammer. You can hit your brother, hit your sister, hit the cat. You had a little jar of candy labeled pills. Oh, that's a good message for the kids. Took us a while to undo that one. But I'll tell you what I liked most in that nurse's kit was the syringe. Oh my God, I love syringes. I mean, that's what nurses do, right? They give shots. What else do nurses do? Nothing. They give shots. And the syringe in that kit was great because you could actually draw up water and authentically do it to your brother, your sister, the dog, the bird. So you can imagine my excitement when I got to the part of my nurse's training where I actually learned injections. Now, those of you that are a little bit older like me, you know you don't start on people right away, do you? No, what do you start on? Oranges, yes. I practiced on the oranges over and over and over again. Pretty soon, all the oranges at my house looked like they had scabies or something. But then, ladies and gentlemen, the big day came. I was doing my emergency room rotation at Penrose Hospital in Colorado Springs. And in walked a big construction worker cut on a piece of sheet metal. He was handsome and strong, tan. I was single back then, I can look. I brought him in, I said, come on, lay down on the gurney and the doctor will take a look at your wound. The doctor came over and then carefully stitched up the wound for him. And then he said the most magical words I'd waited a lifetime to hear. Nurse Bartlein, can you give him a tetanus shot? Oh my God, my heart started to pound. I practically floated in slow motion over to the refrigerator, you know, like those women at the beginning of Baywatch.
Never seen it.
I opened up the refrigerator, I pulled out the vaccine, I drew it up, I went back where he was laying, and I rubbed his deltoid with an alcohol swab. I darted that injection in perfectly, pulled it out. I winked at him. He winked at me. And then he stood up and fell dead on the floor. I killed him. My very first patient, my very first shot, and I killed the patient. I thought, you know what, I'm going to give up on nursing. I'll dash out the door, I'll go in the mountains, I'll live off the land or something. But fortunately for the patient, everybody came running. And as they slowly brought him back up to his feet, the doctor was laughing. He says, the big ones always faint. That's a true story. And it's featured in Chicken Soup for the Nurse's Soul. And it was about that time I realized if I'm going to make it in nursing, I better have a sense of humor. Because things happen. Now, my experience with nurses is we do have a sense of humor. In fact, I think nurses have one of the most unusual senses of humor I've ever heard. We laugh about stuff that nobody else laughs about. We want to discuss things that nobody else wants to discuss. My son said to me one day, he says, "What is it with you and bowel movements?" I said, "Kenny, they're very important. You got to look for consistency, frequency. There's so much involved." He says, "Mother, you're really strange." So I'm saying you've got to know yourself. You've got to know who you are. You have to know your identity. And if part of your identity is being a nurse, you better have a sense of humor. My daughter's a vet, by the way, so she gives me pictures like this. So my first advice for you this afternoon is you must develop a funny bone. You got to look for things every single day that you can laugh about. And patients and families like caregivers that can bring humor to even the most dismal situations. Years ago, my mother's husband was in ICU on a respirator and he was dying. Now, you all know that scene where it goes day after day. And one day I walked in, I was trying to be supportive, and I walked in the room and my mother was sitting there laughing. I said, "Mother, what are you laughing about?" She says, "Well, I just realized for the first time in my life, I have full control of the remote." That ability to find humor in the most dismal set of circumstances is what sets us apart. Now, a lot of people don't understand laughter. They think something has to be uproariously funny to laugh, but that's just not true. The key to good mental health, to doing well long term, is finding humor in little things. I travel all the time. I go all over the country. And one thing I noticed is very often when I step out of the shower at a hotel, I'm face to face with a floor-to-ceiling mirror. Now, this is kind of humbling. Very often I look and I'm amazed at what I see, quite frankly. But the other day I'm looking in the mirror and I start to giggle because, you see, when I was 17 years old, I wanted a tattoo of a kitten right here on my chest. And as I was looking in the mirror, I was thinking, you know what, that kitten would be a giraffe by now. And those of you that are young and getting tattoos, please keep that in mind. I personally find humor is the only way to deal with aging. Because things do keep changing, and things do keep happening. Well, I noticed, and maybe some of you can relate to this, I was in the bathtub the other day shaving my legs, and I don't have a lot of hair in my legs anymore. I used to have a lot of hair in my legs. I was like the woolly mammoth or something. I was shaving every day. I came out of the bathroom and I said, "That's odd. I don't have that much hair on my legs." My daughter pipes up. She says, "Well, I know where it went. It's on your chin." This is why you have children. So that as you get older, they can insult you on a regular basis. This is one of my dreams. I'd love to be on the big marquee, maybe Vegas, New York, Broadway. It would be so exciting to have my name up in lights. However, this is the reality. This actually was up in Wausau, Wisconsin, and I couldn't find the place where I was supposed to speak. And I saw this sign, I thought, you know what, I bet that's it. And I was so excited to see my name up there that, of course, I had to run right down and take a picture. I knew my mother would love this. I mean, it's not New York, but come on, it's Wausau. So I raced right down there, and I had a little silk skirt on, a little silk top, and I had my camera, and I'm taking pictures. And then I noticed that trucks were coming off the freeway and slowing down and stopping. And pretty soon there was a whole line of trucks. And the guys were rolling down their windows, and they were doing their air horns, which I think is a mating call for men. I don't know. But see, this is something I got to tell, especially you young ones, about aging. Because see, if that would have happened 30 years ago, I would have said, those men, they're all the same. 30 years later, I'm thrilled. I'm like, hello! Nice to see you. Keep the sense of humor. Humor actually produces endorphins in your brain, makes you feel better. It boosts your spirits. Boosts the spirits of your patients and families. Many hospital systems, by the way, that we consult to actually build humor into their culture. They set up a humor channel on their TVs. So anytime, day or night, patients or families can access humor. Stand-up comedians, old comedy shows. Some hospital systems institute a humor cart, where a volunteer goes around the hallways and offers humor literature and funny things to patients and families. Humor helps people heal. In fact, it reduces stress. It actually fights disease. There's a lot of studies where they've taken cancer patients, given them identical treatment, but one group also gets humor in a support group, and that group always does better. By the way, you may be interested to know, married couples tend to live longer. They say it's because of the support that they give each other. I mentioned that research to my husband. He says it just seems longer. Humor actually improves the immune system because it increases the amount of T cells in the body. So humor is the way to go. If you have trouble finding humor, I suggest you hang around with children. What do kids laugh about? What do you laugh about? Your parents?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. They don't dance publicly or embarrass you, do they? She's tight-lipped. Why, is it allowance day? Is that the issue? This is where you can communicate about what's going on at home. We'll listen. See, how old are you, dear?
14.
14. See, I have an 11-year-old at home. And I love it because she thinks of things I never think about. I'm actually her great aunt, so she calls me Bob. She couldn't say Barb as a baby, so she calls me Bob. The other day she called me up. Hey, Bob, you know how you can tell an alien? No, Jocelyn, I don't know. Just lift up their shirt. If they don't have a belly button, they're from somewhere else. You know what? That's a good point. I never thought of that. I mean, good to know. You got a doubt it's about somebody, you just take a peek under that shirt. You're going to know where they're from. Hang around with kids. Here's some tips to have more fun at work. Play prairie dog. Everybody, I'm assuming, knows how to do that, correct? No? Does anybody here work in a cubicle of any type? No cubicles. Maybe over here, okay? This can work in cubicles. It can work in a patient hallway. The concept is the same. In cubicles, what you do is you put your head over the edge of the cubicle. If somebody else does that, you quickly go down. You get the whole office to do this so that one is going up and one is going down and all over the office. You can do the same thing with patients' rooms by simply putting your head out and then back. I kind of suggest you do this when the boss isn't around. These are not productivity tips. These are simply fun tips. How about this one? Put your wastebasket on your desk and label it in. This is also a way to reduce your workload. Very effective. How about this one? Wear exactly the same clothes as your boss. The exact same outfit. Easy for you folks. You don't have as much trouble. By the way, I love the hair. I love the hair. That's my kind of hairdo where you just put a hat on. Isn't that great? No, you can't take it off. No. Even when you get home, you probably shouldn't. How about this one? Here's a good way to get a promotion. Continuously page yourself over the intercom. What will happen is everybody will think you're really important. And the next time there's a promotion, you're sure to get it. Everybody asked me what my husband looks like, so I brought a picture. I call, oh, it's gone. Where'd he go? Oh, there he is. I call this the luge position. I didn't know what to call it until I saw the Olympics. And then I said, Charlie, look at how athletic you are. Here's another shot of Charlie. This one I call the skeleton, so you can see how versatile he is. Yeah, I've been married 34 years to Charlie. That's another whole story. But we'll talk a little bit about men in a minute. So I think you become what you think about, and I think it's really important we think positive. And nurses have a certain optimism that I think they bring to the workplace, they bring to their patients, they bring to their families, because you know and I know you can't always predict what's going to happen. I've had patients that I think are doing just marvelous, and they go south. And then there's other people I think, oh, they're never going to recover, and the next day they're sitting up in bed ready to go home. We never know what's going to happen. And so we bring that optimism and we bring that hope to people that brightens their souls and brightens their hearts. And we never know when we're going to make a difference in somebody else's life. You never know. Not like this lady. She says all I ever wants to do is watch action movies. So for our anniversary, I blew up the car. I'd love to do that. My husband loves action films. I'd love to do that. So what are some of the characteristics of high-performing nursing units? What are we looking for? First of all, you've got to have a team mind. How does the whole group work together? What is the culture? When we go out and work with teams at various hospital systems, we're always looking for the processes and how they think about each other. Is there trust? Is there high levels of trust? Or are people shot if they make a mistake? Always important to know. We look at team process, always the ability to consistently produce good outcomes. And of course, what is the outcome we're looking for? Excellent patient-centered care, right? That's what we're looking for. Team leadership. We look for a compelling vision. And we look for mental toughness. Nurses are tough people. They are. We put up with a lot, we give a lot. And if I have any criticism of nurses at all, is sometimes we put everybody ahead of us. And we don't take as good a care of ourselves as we need to, right? Am I the only one? And you know what, for me it started as soon as I was like halfway through nursing school. People start to call me for advice. What do you know about this? I would go to parties, people say, does this look infected? Do you think that looks infected? What should I do? Hydrogen peroxide? What should I do? I've worked in mental health my whole career. I would say, well, I don't know, are you depressed? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. If you get red streaks up to your shoulder, probably infected. I like the rules that they have at Nordstrom. Nordstrom has a fantastic culture, and everybody is geared towards customer service. Everybody is geared towards it. They train for it. Their rule is very simple. Use your good judgment in all situations. There will be no additional rules. That's what their employee handbook is. There will be no additional rules. Use your good judgment. And of course, what we do is we empower the frontline people to make decisions, to do what's best for patients, to do what's best for families. I think we need to seek to understand first and to be understood second. Seek to understand other people, where they're coming from. Sometimes for me that was hard as a nurse because I wanted people to do things my way. One of my dearest aunts was dying of cancer a few years ago. And of course, part of my background is in oncology and hospice nursing. So I had some pretty strong opinions of what I thought should happen. And I said, Aunt Helen, you know, we'll arrange care at home and we'll get hospice. And she looked at me very indignant. She said, and stop treatment? Never. I want to be treated right up till the end. I will never give up. And I almost found myself pleading with her, but you'd get such good care, and why go through all that? Barbara, you don't understand. Giving up for me is not an option. And having to learn to respect that. Because we all get to do those things our own way. Paul O'Neill's an interesting guy. Has anybody heard of him? He took over Alcoa Aluminum years ago in 1987. And Alcoa, of course, invented the process for smelting aluminum. Very dangerous process. High temperature ovens and, heavy equipment. And a lot of people got hurt at Alcoa. At his first shareholder meeting, he got up and he announced, "My number one priority is employee safety." Number one priority. The shareholders were shocked. They almost walked out. They're like, well, what about profits? What about taxes? What about, where's the buzzwords like thinking out of the box and synergy and all this kind of stuff? I mean, we want our employees to be safe, but is that really the number one priority? And Paul O'Neill said yes. Because you see, his predecessor tried to make changes at Alcoa, and he couldn't. As soon as he tried to make some labor changes, 20,000 workers went on strike. As soon as he tried to implement certain production standards, the union fought him. But nobody could argue with him about workers' safety. So about 6 months after he made this proclamation, a worker at Alcoa got killed. And he called into his office all the top management, and he said to them, "We killed him. We are all responsible." That was a turning point. Because from that point on, everyone at Alcoa started reporting anything that could injure anybody. They started even calling Paul O'Neill at home with ideas of how to make the workplace safer. And because those lines of communication were opened up, pretty soon they were calling with other ideas too. Like, if we changed the paint color on this aluminum siding, I think we would sell more. Well, what happened was, this is what he said: "Safety will be an indicator that we're making progress in changing our habits." And within 1 year, profits hit a record high. They got workers' injuries not just decreasing, they got them down to 0. And if there was any worry of danger, Paul O'Neill would actually shut down production lines to make sure workers were safe. He was actually inducted at one point into the union, the first person ever at Alcoa in management that was inducted into the union. By the year 2000, net income was 5 times larger than before he arrived. What Paul O'Neill had found was what we call a keystone habit, a habit among his workers that transformed the organization. So my question for all of you is, what is the keystone habit at St. Mary's? And how are you measuring it? We all want excellent patient care. How are we measuring that? This morning, people had some ideas about that. Because we measure it how? Patient satisfaction, infection rates, whether people come back for services. But give some thought to this. In your unit, what keystone habits could you focus on that would bring up the level of patient care? Not that, like this lady, she says, "I have your faults on floppy disk when you have time." Good way for men and women. Men and women are different. Let's just spend a minute on that, shall we? Anybody disagree? No? Some of the men are thinking, uh-oh, what's coming? Well, this is what I have found. First of all, men and women are very different about clothes. Very different. I'll say to my husband, let's go shopping. First thing he'll say is, "I don't need anything." Shopping isn't about need. Gentlemen, that's not what it's about. Shopping is a sport. It's an occupation. It's therapy. You got to find a bargain, right? Sometimes I come home with bags and bags of stuff. And then I say to my husband, "Look how much money I saved you." And then he's not appreciative. I don't get this. Men don't buy stuff. My husband doesn't buy any of his clothes. He has 2 pairs of shoes every day and dress, yes. He's had the same pair of dress shoes for 30 years. He got married in them. He pulls them out for weddings and funerals. I told him the other day, I says, you know what? Any kind of luck, I can bury you in those shoes. He doesn't go shopping. And can we talk confidentially for a minute? What is it about men with their underwear? They never throw it out. It can be paper thin. And Charlie says, you know what? It's still good. The other night I was laying in bed, I'm reading a book. He's sound asleep and he's got on his paper thin underwear. And I noticed there was like just a little hole. So I started playing with that hole. And that underwear just started to shred. He never even woke up. I just kept going on and on. Next morning he gets up, he's got a band around here and just bands around the top of his leg. He says, what happened? I go, I don't know. Men and women are different about directions. I know the old joke that men don't like to ask. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how stupid they give directions. You know, when a man gives a direction, no offense, guys, but you say stupid things like, okay, go north for 2.3 miles and then turn east. That's not the way we do it, is it? No. We say, you know, go straight down, and then when you see the garden with all the pretty daffodils, and you know she always puts the roses up later, that's where you turn left. And then, do you remember the lady from the beauty shop that ran off with the barber? Okay, at her house, turn right. Now those are directions you can sink your teeth in. Men and women talk different. Women like to solve problems by talking. Keep that in mind as you work with patients and families. They process their feelings by talking. Men don't do that. They don't understand this either, guys. Men like to solve problems. Gotta solve problems. When I try to talk to my husband, first thing he wants to do is solve a problem. Told him the other day I was mad at my sister. Well, of course, she's an idiot. Don't call her anymore. Charlie, I'm a little frustrated at work. So quit. It's just a difference in communication. It doesn't work. And I can tell you right now, it's the little things in relationships that drive you crazy. Am I right? It's the little things. Just the other day, I was drying my hair in the bathroom. And all of a sudden, the dryer stopped. That's no big deal. I mean, what's a dryer cost? 20 bucks? 25? I unplugged it, I threw it away. Here comes Charlie! Saying those magical words, what are they? I can fix it. Pulls the dryer out of the wastebasket. Puts on his tool belt like he's in the Old West. This is a man close to heaven. He takes it downstairs, and for the next 3 hours I can hear him humming and singing and whistling. He's got a project. After 3 hours, he comes up the steps, and he's got a 30-foot yellow cord attached to that hair dryer. I try to be the supportive wife, I do. I said, come on, let's plug it in. I went in the bathroom, I plugged it in, there was a shower with sparks, the power went out, and the whole side of my face went black. It really was kind of funny. I mean, we started to laugh. We stopped laughing, though, when we went in the basement to restore the power and realized the power surge had knocked the box off the wall. And now it was $1,500 to get it fixed. I don't make this stuff up. This really happens in my life. I try to hide broken things from Charlie now. I'm scared he'll blow up the whole place. I know this comes as a shock, but women continue to do the majority of household chores. People realize that? Or is that a shock? No. Now this is important, and I highly suggest you write it down, especially you men. This is a very important tip. This is a take-home tip. Men who do housework have better sex lives. This is true. John Goodman, out of Chicago, did a series of research and found that men that join in the household chores, everything just works better at home. And part of it is, it feels more like a partnership, and maybe the wife isn't so tired. I told my husband this research. He immediately got out the vacuum. So this really works. Or the way I put it, no man was ever shot while doing the dishes. So I think success is doing the right thing. And nurses are in a unique position to do the right thing. Every single day, little things we do for other people. Recently, my husband had a double hernia repair. Now, when I went to nursing school, a double hernia repair was a week in the hospital. In fact, the first day, you weren't even allowed out of bed. Years ago, the first day, all you could do was dangle. Remember, we had our patients dangle on the side of the bed? Every once in a while, you get one that wanted to get up, and you're like, don't get up. You can't get up. You're supposed to dangle today. And you're right. Now it's outpatient. It's like a day's surgery. Double hernia repair. So the day he had it done, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they called me. They said, come on down. You can pick him up. I went down to the surgery center. And there he was. He was in terrible pain, and he couldn't urinate, and he felt miserable. And I looked at him, I said, I don't want him. She says, what do you mean you don't want him? You've got to take him. I said, I don't have to take him. You want him, you take him. Because I knew at midnight or 1 a.m. we'd be back in the ER, getting cath, getting medicine. I said, call the doctor, see if he can spend one night. So she did. Now, I knew you could do that. I know you can push back. I know you can advocate. But your little 70, 80-year-old couple who gets sent home and doesn't know, or services haven't been set up, they don't know that. And that's where we come in, where we're advocating for them. We're letting them know. We're making sure they have adequate help. I think we're in unique positions to do the right thing. I found that out with my little great niece. This is Jocelyn. I mentioned her earlier. She calls me Bob. Her mother came to me, my niece, when she was pregnant. She had dropped out of high school, using drugs, using alcohol, and I took her in. Put her through school. I put her into rehab. And then she had little Jocelyn. Now, anybody here from OB? Do we have some people? Yeah. I didn't realize this, but having a baby is a lot more fun if you're not the one doing it. I didn't know that. Little Jocelyn was born, and she just became the joy of our life. I mean, she's so cute. There she is trying to put a nook in the cat's mouth. Just a sweetheart. But unfortunately, when she was about a year old, my niece, her mother, up and left one day. She just left her. So my sister-in-law and I adopted Jocelyn. And we've been raising her jointly as a blended family for 11 years. And it's great. Now, I thought I was doing the right thing by taking my niece in, but it ends up, the one I really was helping was little Jocelyn. And it's wonderful. So sometimes opportunities to do the right thing just fall on your step, and you don't even know it. She's hysterically funny. The other day, my husband, who's a pretty hairy fellow, came out and he was buttoning up his shirt, and I saw that she was just staring at his chest. All of a sudden she says, Uncle Charlie, do you have a puppy in there? I love it. I love it. I think it's important to avoid energy suckers. Does everybody know what these are? They have them in healthcare, you know. In fact, one of the latest surveys shows that there's actually a lot of bullying in healthcare, that people are subjected to bullying. It can be from coworkers, it can be from bosses, it can be from patients, families. We sort of give them a little bit of a pass because they're under stress. It can be from insurance companies and dealing within the system. Healthcare workers have a very high level of stress. So would you like to know the secret of how to deal with energy suckers? Would that be helpful? Sure. Okay. Pick a partner and grab a pen. Pick a partner and grab a pen. And what I want you to do is give your partner the finger, the index finger, of course. Index finger. And I want you on their finger to put 2 dots and a smile right on the tip of that index finger. 2 dots and a smile. 2 dots and a smile. How are we doing? Oh, we actually have a wiggle over here already. Have you done this before? Would you mind showing the group? Because you just launched into a wiggle naturally. She has a natural wiggle.
And I can shake my head at the
There goes Holly, and she's moving her head, kind of showing off, if I can say that. What Holly is demonstrating is the standard wiggle. I want to make sure we're all at least at that level. Okay, we've got a kind of a side-to-side wiggle. Would you mind demonstrating that for the group? Yeah, that's pretty complex. Don't just jump into this if you're not feeling confident.
I stretched first.
Yeah. Some people like to do the whoopee wiggle, and that's fine. Okay, very good. You've done this before. But so you can do the whoopee wiggle. Now, some people even want to do the calisthenic wiggle. I think that's a bit much, but it's totally up to you. So we've all got our wiggle. Oh yeah, you're kind of showing off back there. So we've got our wiggle. Now, this is where it really gets important. To make this effective, you must have the proper tone and intonation. So, while you wiggle your finger at the energy sucker, you need to say, hello. So let's try it as a group, shall we? 1, 2, 3. Hello. Okay, how about just the guys? 1, 2, 3. You are so cute. You're so cute. Is this your husband?
Yeah,
Yeah, how long have you been married?
14 years.
14 years.
Second time around.
Second time around? The better time, right?
Yeah.
Wonderful. He's so cute I could take him home. Oh, go ahead, she says, take him.
Something we don't know.
Okay, so we have this, correct? We have the finger, we have the face, we have the tone and intonation. So how do you use this? How do you use this? Very simple. Let's say there's an energy sucker in the nurse's station. Just whip your finger right in there. Walk away. Just walk away. Nothing more needs to be said. They're coming down the hall. Stick it right out the patient room. Anybody here from the GI lab? Just wait till that energy sucker's looking through a scope, right at the end of the scope. If they're really a problem, wait till they go to the restroom. Right under the cubicle. I know this sounds a little frivolous, but you got to trust me on this. You do this enough to the energy suckers in your life, they'll stay away from you. This works. Stay away from energy suckers. Stay away from them. And if you have energy suckers in your personal life, hang up on them. Put them at the card table in the kitchen. Don't deal with them. How many of you, let's get honest here this afternoon, how many of you occasionally call someone just hoping they're not there? Yeah, you don't want to talk to them, do you? You just want credit for the call. Those are probably energy suckers. You don't want to deal with them. You know what I'm talking about, where you pick up the phone and it's them and you're like, oh. Those are energy suckers. Limit your exposure. Limit your exposure. I think we need to redefine failure. I think success is never giving up and supporting people. I always say don't shoot people when there is a mistake or they make a mistake. You know, support each other because that creates a safe environment, and then we learn best practices. And you learn best practices how? By looking when there were mistakes, when there were problems. That's how we do it. Have realistic expectations. I like to think expectations are just future resentments. With nurses, sometimes it's not what we expect from other people more, it's what we expect from ourselves. We expect so much. We expect to keep giving and giving and giving and emptying our bucket and emptying our bucket. And then when do we take the time to fill our bucket back up? When do we take time for ourselves? And then if you're like me, if I do take time, I feel guilty. It's ridiculous. Not anymore. She goes, not me anymore. Yeah, I think as you get older, you get better at that. You do. You get better at that. And you stop trying to be everything for everybody. My sister called me one day. She says, I wish you would do whatever. I don't even remember what it was. I wish you'd do that different. I says, you know what? I'm getting to an age, there ain't much different anymore. You get to an age and you can't please everybody. Bill Cosby once said, I don't know the key to success, but the key to failure is to try and please everybody. And I think it's true. You can't do it. I call it the expectation machine. Sometimes we assume that other people think or react the way we do. Or we think there's one way to do things, one right way. And whose way is that, by the way? Mine. Yeah, mine, of course. I'm right about everything. My husband told me the other day, he goes, you know, Barb, you're a legend in your own mind. I think we have to make sure, technology is great, but make sure you're not tethered to technology. Don't work all day and then go home and you're still answering voicemails, emails, texts, all this kind of stuff. It's gone overboard. Every once in a while, I just turn everything off. I don't want anything on. And I just listen to music. Or just lay in my bathtub. Anything but all the technology. It's gotten crazy. Work at simplifying your life. I'm at a phase in my life, and maybe some of you can relate to this, where I'm getting rid of stuff. The first part of your life, you're like accumulating stuff. Then you realize, oh my gosh, I got too much stuff. In fact, one of the largest growing businesses in America is storage units. Because people have so much stuff now, they can't even keep all their stuff. They got to store their stuff. And then maybe you saw that show Storage Wars, where they buy the stuff.
Yes.
Where is all this stuff? I'm purging. I've been getting rid of things like crazy. My son came over. He says, Mom, I'm going to set up an apartment. What can I take? I said, you can take everything. And if your dad's in a Bartlein lounger, just wheel him out too. Fine with me. Simplify your life. I think little change leads to big change. Take care of yourself. As a nurse, make sure you're taking time to renew your spirit, renew your soul. Exercise. Watch some sunsets. Take a few moments. Life is really nothing but moments. Think back, you only remember tiny snippets. And one of the things we do too often is we get so caught up in the busyness that we miss those moments. We miss just stopping, just putting the pause button on and saying, here's a moment I want to remember. My grandfather used to take me fishing. I loved it. And we would sit out on one of the beautiful lakes in Wisconsin in the summer. I don't even think we caught fish. We just sat out there and enjoyed. And I can remember one day in particular, the sun was just coming up. And we were out there and it was glistening on the lake. And it was crystal clear. And all of a sudden he looked at me and he said, well, if this isn't nice, just what is? And that's sort of become a motto for some of my life, where if this isn't nice, just what is? Enjoy the small moments, those magical moments. Does anybody know what this is?
Yeah, we're like 45.
For a 45 record? Do you know what a 45 is, honey? Yeah. Yes? Do you know what a record is?
Disc thing.
A disc thing. Very close, very close. I showed this to one group, and somebody yelled out birth control. And in the last session, somebody said, I don't think it'll work very well. So, okay. Remember this one? She had a cat. Everybody had one. Everybody had one. First doll that could talk. Remember him? Red Skelton. Full of brush man. Remember when people used to come to your house and sell you brushes and bring milk? And come and throw dirt on your carpeting and then vacuum it up? I loved that. I used to say, just finish the whole room quick and then, I don't want it, but thank you. I miss all those people stopping by. Nobody stops by anymore. Remember these? S&H green stamps. You know what's funny? I remember putting them into booklets. I don't remember ever cashing them in. I'm sure I did, but I don't remember doing it. Reel-to-reels? Those are old. You never see those anymore. How about this guy? What did he say?
Howdy doody time.
Yeah, howdy doody time. You remember howdy doody. I love it. What's this? Anybody know? Where's some of my really young people? What is that? You look confused here. What is that? She keeps looking. Oh, I don't know. Don't put me on the spot. A dart ball. Do you know what it is? No. Now, this is going to shock you too. This is the test pattern they used to put on when TVs went off the air. Doesn't that blow your mind? I showed this to my kids. I said, TVs used to go off the air. And my son said to me, when did you live the Middle Ages? But we loved TVs. We would sit and watch the test pattern. We would, and then they would have, at the end of the day, they would do the Star Spangled Banner with the flag waving. We'd sit and watch that. We were so happy to have TV. How about this classy item? How many people still have one? That's good because they're coming back. They become collector's items, so keep it. Especially if you have the revolving color changer. How about this one? Gas stations. Remember when they used to come out and clean your windshield and check your oil? A couple of people are shaking no, I don't remember that. I missed that. So I think little things make a difference. And in nursing, we make a difference every single day. With the people's lives we touch, the little things we do. And I know we say to ourselves, well, that's our job, that's our profession, that's what we do. But I think things happen every single day that are important. This is a picture of my little girl when she was 5 years old. And when she was 5 years old, I went into her room one day and found her unconscious on the floor. A minute ago, she had been up running around. She was doing fine. But all of a sudden, I looked, and she didn't look good at all. So I called 911. I had her taken to Children's Hospital in Milwaukee, and I no sooner got her in the door, and she stopped breathing. Now, I know some of you have experienced that, and you certainly have experienced it with your patients and families, where in an instant, your whole life has changed. Well, I was just worrying about what to have for dinner, and now I'm looking in the door of the ER and watching my daughter fight for her life. They took her up and they did an MRI, and they came back down and said, we don't know what's wrong with her. So they took her to ICU and put her on a respirator. And for the next 10 days, there was a parade of specialists, neurology, infectious disease, poison control center. It went on. And finally, they called us into a room and they said, we're really sorry, but your daughter has encephalitis, an infection of the brain. And it's viral encephalitis, so there's really nothing to do except supportive care. And because it came on so rapidly and so dramatically, we don't know if she's going to recover. And if she does recover, she may have deficits. All we could do was pray. And then one day, about 10 days into this ordeal, I was giving her a bed bath, and she reached up, put her arm around my neck, and said my name. And from that moment on, she started to get better. Within a few weeks, we were able to take her home. And we rehabbed her at home. My mother came down, both my husband and I took leaves of absence, and around the clock we worked with Stephanie. We taught her to walk again, talk again, read again, bike again. And against all odds, she totally recovered. I don't know what you call miracles, but see, I call those things miracles. And it was the nurses at that hospital that gave us hope and gave us confidence. Because I remember one night as we went through the ordeal, feeling like, oh, this is just awful, this is the worst thing. And the nurse came in and she said to me, actually, you're the luckiest one on the floor. I said, I am? Because I was feeling a little sorry for us. She says, yeah, there's a lot of hope for your daughter. Many of these kids don't have any hope. I'll never forget those magical words she said to me. But that's not the end of the story. Because about 6 months after Stephanie was recovering, we decided to go to Disney World. Now, how many people have been there? Oh, quite a few. Yeah. It's a magical place, isn't it? You have the cartoon characters, you have the rides, and you've got the lines. Do you remember those lines? It's kind of like being at the DMV on the face of the sun. But all Stephanie wanted to do when we were there was go on one ride. It was a rocket ship ride, high on top of a building in the Magic Kingdom. And the higher that ride went, the faster and faster it went, the higher it went. But every time we looked, the lines were too long. So we went on the teacups. Anybody go on the teacups? Yeah? Somebody throw up while you guys were on? You know what? If you don't remember anything else that I say, I highly recommend, if you go on a ride with a mop and a bucket sitting outside, don't go on that. But every time we looked, the line was too long. So we went on It's a Small World After All. Yes. Remember that one? Oh, I hate that music. You can't get that music out of your head once it's in there. It just keeps revolving and revolving. I wanted to jump out of the boats and strangle those little people. But finally, the last day, we were going to leave the next morning. The park was emptying out, sun was setting, getting ready to close. And we looked over and there was no line at the rocket ship ride. I said, come on, we can get her on. Let's run over. And we ran over to the gate. And just as we got there, he pulled the chain across. He said, that's all for today. You come back and see Mickey tomorrow. I looked at him. Do you know what kind of year we've had? We've had a terrible year. My brother's house burned down in California. My van got stolen. But here's the worst thing. Stephanie was so sick. We didn't think she was going to make it. She lay in a coma for 10 days. She's finally doing better. She's been waiting to get on this ride. You're going to let us on. I think I scared him. Because all of a sudden he pulled the chain back across and he said, come on. And we got on that ride, and as it went up higher and higher, you could hear Stephanie laughing and screaming and carrying on. And just as the ride started to slow down, he came on the loudspeaker. He said, that ride was from Mickey. Here's an extra ride for Stephanie from me. And he gave us an extra ride. A little gesture, probably viewed it as part of his job. I never knew what his name was. But to this day, if you talked to Stephanie and said, what's the best thing that ever happened to you? She would tell you that magic ride at Disney World. Stephanie went on and she went to veterinary medicine in Madison. She's a vet. She's done well. She was an honor student, a varsity swimmer. But the day that she remembers the most is the day of that extra ride. This is the kind of magic you folks do every single day. And very often, nobody really knows it but that person that you did it for. I applaud all of you. I give you a special congratulations for Nurses Week. It's the best profession in the world. It builds your life in so many ways and so many flavors. It's just fabulous. Thank you so much for your attention today. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.